Welcome to this deep dive. We've got a really interesting analysis to look at today,
Yeah.
focusing on the global market for managing hazardous waste.
Right. A critical area.
Exactly. Our goal here is really to cut through all the data, give you the essential insights into this industry, where it is now, where it seems to be heading.
And we're using a 2025 report as our base here. It projects things out to 2033.
Mm-hmm.
So think of this as, well, your guide to understanding a sector that's just becoming more and more vital. Environmental concerns, regulations, they're really pushing it forward.
And the report itself, it's got this title: the global hazardous waste management market size will be USD 400 and 250 million in 2025. Pretty comprehensive.
It really covers the bases: regions, waste types, treatment tech, sources, end users.
Yeah.
It's all in there.
So with that set up, let's just jump right in. What's the kind of headline figure, the overall market size and growth?
Okay, so the report estimates the global market at USD 41.25 billion for 2025. But the really interesting part is the projection. It's expected to grow to USD 57.33 billion by 2033.
Wow. Okay. That's quite a jump.
It is. That works out to a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of about 4.20% over that period.
And what's driving that growth? Just general economic activity or?
Well, general activity plays a part, but a really big driver, maybe the main one, is the tightening environmental regulations globally. Stricter rules on disposal.
That makes sense. More rules mean more need for proper management services.
Exactly. It forces the issue, essentially.
So the report breaks this down by region, right? Where's the biggest slice of that $41 billion pie right now?
Right now, in 2025, North America holds the largest share, about 37%.
37%. Okay.
That translates to roughly USD 15.26 billion. But interestingly, the growth rate there is a bit more, let's say, measured around 2.7% CAGR.
So dominant now, but maybe not the fastest growing.
Precisely. And within North America, the U.S. is the giant, obviously. About $12.04 billion in 2025.
And its growth.
Slightly lower CAGR, 2.5%. Heavily influenced by EPA regulations, the Environmental Protection Agency.
Okay. And Canada and Mexico.
Canada's market is about USD 1.83 billion, growing a bit faster at 3.5%. Government policies pushing waste minimization seem to be key there. In Mexico, USD 1.39 billion, growing at 3.2%. That seems linked to its expanding manufacturing base.
Got it. So North America is the current leader,
Right.
but maybe the growth story is elsewhere. What about Europe?
Europe's the second largest, holding around 30% of the market in 2025.
Okay, still a big player.
Definitely. That's about USD 11.96 billion. And the growth rate is projected at 3.3% CAGR, so a bit higher than North America overall.
And within Europe, any specific countries highlighted?
Yeah, it mentions the UK, Germany, and France as key markets. The UK around 2.01 billion, growing at 4.1%. Germany larger at 2.37 billion, growing at 3.5%. And France about 1.1 billion with a 2.5% growth rate.
So some variation there too.
Yes. And the big factors in Europe are those EU-wide waste management directives and the big push towards a, circular economy.
Right. Reusing and recycling more.
Okay.
So North America and Europe are the top two by size, but you hinted at faster growth elsewhere, Asia Pacific.
Absolutely. This is where the growth story really picks up pace. APAC holds about 25% of the market in 2025.
Okay, so a quarter of the market.
Roughly USD 9.90 billion. But here's the kicker. The projected CDR is 6.9%.
Whoa, 6.9%. That's significantly higher.
It is. Makes it the fastest growing region by quite a margin.
And what's fueling that?
Primarily, it's the rapid industrialization we're seeing in key economies. Think China and India.
Right.
China's market is estimated at USD 4.16 billion, growing at 6.4%. And India, while smaller at just under a billion, 0.99 billion, has an even higher projected CAGR of 8.8%.
Wow, nearly 9% for India. That's huge.
It really highlights the challenge, doesn't it? Rapid industrial growth brings a massive need for hazardous waste infrastructure and management. It's a huge challenge, but also a massive opportunity for, investment in new solutions.
No kidding. Okay, so APAC is the one to watch for growth. What about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa? They're smaller pieces, I assume.
They are, but still showing decent growth. South America has about a 4% share in 2025. That's USD 1.57 billion.
And growing at?
Projected at 4.9% CAGR. Driven by industries like mining, oil, and gas. Brazil is key there, about 0.67 billion, growing at 5.5%.
Okay, Middle East?
also around 4% share, slightly larger market size, USD 1.65 billion, and a slightly higher CGR too, 5.4%.
Drivers there. Still oil and gas.
Yeah, oil and gas is a big one, but also government sustainability initiatives are playing a role. Saudi Arabia, for example, about 0.58 billion, growing at 5.7%.
And Africa.
The smallest share, just over 2%, around $0.91 billion in 2025. Projected growth is 4.5% CGR.
What drives it there?
Mining and manufacturing are factors, plus international aid programs helping to build up waste management infrastructure. South Africa is a notable market, about 0.32 billion, growing at 5.4%.
Okay, so growth pretty much everywhere, but APAC is really standing out. Now, the report also breaks the market down in other ways, right? Like the physical state of the waste.
That's right. It looks at whether the waste is solid, liquid, or sludge.
And what's the trend there?
Well, solid waste is currently the dominant category, which, makes sense given the variety of solid hazardous materials produced.
Sure.
But what's interesting is the report identifies the liquid segment as the fastest growing.
Oh, okay. Why is that?
It seems to be driven by increased disposal of things like chemical liquids and industrial solvents. And managing liquids, well, it often presents different, sometimes trickier challenges than solids. Storage, transport, treatment.
Right. Needs different infrastructure, different tech, perhaps.
Exactly. Sludge management, that semi-solid stuff from wastewater treatment, is also mentioned as a significant part of the market.
Okay, and what about the actual type of hazardous waste?
Chemical, medical. Chemical waste is the dominant type currently. Yeah. Generated by petrochemicals, agriculture, pharmaceuticals, lots of industries, requires very specific handling. But again, looking at growth, the fastest growing type is biomedical waste.
That tracks with healthcare expansion, I suppose.
Directly linked. Expanding healthcare systems globally mean more infectious waste, radioactive materials, sharps, all needing really strict management protocols. Public health depends on it.
Absolutely critical area.
Yeah.
Okay, and the report mentions the technologies used for treatment. Can you give us a quick rundown?
Sure. The main ones highlighted are incineration burning at high temperatures, landfilling controlled disposal in specialized sites.
Still common, then?
Still very common, yes. Then there's biological treatment using microbes to break down organic waste, chemical treatment using reactions like neutralization, and finally stabilization or solidification, basically locking the hazardous stuff into a solid block to make it less mobile.
A range of approaches.
Yeah.
And where does it all come from? The sources.
Main sources are industrial activities, that's a big one. Commercial businesses contribute too. Municipal waste streams can contain hazardous items, healthcare facilities, as we just discussed, and agriculture, pesticides, herbicides, that sort of thing.
So pretty diverse origins.
Mm-hmm.
And who are the end users? Who's paying for these services?
It's a mix. Specialized waste management companies, obviously. Industrial facilities themselves, either managing on-site or contracting out. Government agencies are involved in regulation and sometimes management. Research institutions, even some nonprofits working in the environmental space.
Okay, that paints a pretty full picture of the market structure. Let's circle back to the drivers and restraints. We mentioned regulations as a key driver. What else is fueling this?
Right, regulations are number one, but also just the general trend of increasing industrialization and urbanization worldwide. More activity and more people equals more waste, including hazardous waste.
Makes sense.
And another factor is the growing interest in waste-to-energy initiatives. If you can turn hazardous waste into energy, that's an added incentive for proper management.
Right, finding value in it. Are there headwinds, though, things holding the market back?
Yes, definitely. The main one is cost. Treating and disposing of hazardous waste properly is expensive. It needs specialized facilities, advanced tech. That's a big investment.
A barrier for some, I imagine.
For sure. And the other restraint is just the complexity of regulatory compliance. The rules can be intricate. They vary from place to place. Navigating all that can be tough for businesses.
Yeah, red tape can definitely slow things down. So, looking forward, what trends does the report see shaping this market?
Two main ones stand out. First, the increasing adoption of circular economy principles.
Moving away from just disposal.
Exactly. More focus on reuse, recycling, repurposing hazardous materials where possible, trying to keep them out of the final waste stream altogether.
Makes sense. And the second trend?
That's the growing use of, well, technology, specifically AI and the Internet of Things, IoT.
How are they being used here?
For things like optimizing collection routes, making treatment plants run more efficiently, better monitoring, ensuring compliance, basically making the whole process smarter and more efficient.
Interesting to see that tech permeating this sector, too.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, what about the companies involved? Who are the big players?
It's described as a highly competitive market. You've got big global players and smaller regional ones. The report names some of the leaders like Veolia, Waste Management Inc., SUEZ, Republic Services. These are major international companies.
Household names in the waste industry, some of them.
Right. And the report also mentions some recent events just as examples of market activity, like a settlement involving Stericycle with the EPA and DOJ in early 2025 over hazardous waste issues.
Shows the regulatory scrutiny is real.
It absolutely is. And also new facility openings, like Veolia opening a new hazardous waste site in the UK in April 2024, and Biffa launching a new transfer station around the same time. So there's ongoing investment and activity.
Those examples help bring it to life. Okay, so pulling this all together from our deep dive, it seems the global hazardous waste management market is, well, it's big business already, and it's set for pretty significant growth.
Definitely.
Driven hard by regulations and just general industrial activity, but with clear regional differences, especially that fast growth in Asia-Pacific. And we're seeing shifts, too, like the increasing importance of managing liquid waste and biomedical waste.
Yeah.
It's definitely a sector balancing that push from regulations against the real-world challenges of cost and complexity.
Yeah. And for me, the key aha moments are really that APAC growth rate. It's just so striking. Also, the rise of liquid and biomedical waste, showing how the waste stream itself is evolving, and that constant tension, between the need for tough rules and the economic realities of implementing them. That's the core dynamic, really.
Absolutely. And understanding these trends, I think, is valuable whether you're in industry, policy, or just, curious about the environmental challenges we face globally. It's a critical piece of the puzzle.
Which kind of leads to a final thought for you, the listener. Thinking about this growth and the big push for sustainability, what innovations, maybe technologies or policy changes, do you think will really shake up hazardous waste management in the next 10 years or so?
Good question.
And maybe even more fundamentally, what role can individuals or businesses play in just generating less hazardous waste to begin with? Something to mull over, definitely.